Why don't banks sort themselves out when it comes to interest rates?
Well, we've seen this in recent past and over a very, very long period of time, that when there's a sort of change in the structure of interest rates, either they're going up fast or going down fast, banks win, everybody else loses. It's completely unacceptable. The Treasury Committee have just had a short inquiry with the big banks, asking them, why is it that you're passing on the cost of borrowing immediately, and yet your interest rates accounts for people who are trying to save or people who are on fixed incomes are not reflecting those rises in interest rates? And their answers were not persuasive.
What did they say?
Well, for example, they were saying things like, we have a flexible saving rate, a sort of a money box account, so that if you're saving on a regular basis, you get a very good rate of interest. Well, that's good, but that's a tiny amount of the money that's being saved. And I think there are all sorts of restrictions around the age. You had to be a certain age and so on. But actually, if you have something like, well, up to 60% of all our current accounts, and your average sort of interest rate on that is about 1%, 1.7%, that's simply not good enough. And so the onus definitely is on the banks to make sure that they're passing on those rates, not just to borrowers. Well, I mean, since 2010, when I was last on the Treasury Select Committee, there was a great big change in the number of banking licences that have been given out. So competition is a great big game changer in the financial services sector. There are now many, many more banks, many, many more opportunities for people to shop around. So competition's really important, but so too is encouraging consumers, whether they're borrowers or investors, to actually look at what's on offer, to recognise that there is a guarantee. If you're depositing up to £85,000 with a regulated bank, then
that much is protected.
That much is protected by effectively by guarantee. So you can deposit money with a bank that perhaps isn't a high street bank, isn't one that you particularly know of, but if it's regulated, always must check. You can get some much better rates. So just flicking through rates today, you could get a, almost 4% easy access rate. I think 3.7% was the highest I saw. Still not great. I mean, back sort of in 2006 with base rates last at the level they are now, 4.25%, you could actually get around 6% for your deposits. Whereas now, with base rate at 4.25%, you're lucky if you get 2%. Which is pretty shocking.
So why is that? I mean, are these banks, I mean, they'll not like me for saying cartels, but are they working as a cartel?
No, I genuinely do not think that that's the case. I think that they are relying on inertia, however. I mean, I don't know what the statistic is now, but I recall back in about 2011, there was this shocking statistic, which is that you were more likely to get divorced twice than you were to change your bank account. So, yeah, it's pretty shocking, isn't it? I think that has changed because, as I say, we've seen many, many more new financial services companies coming into the market, lots more options out there for consumers. But still, inertia is a big problem for people.
So have a look around.
Have a look around.
Is it hard? Is it as hard to move your bank as it used to be?
No, it definitely isn't. No, we've done a lot to create bank account portability since the Conservatives have been in government since 2010. So there's been a lot of changes. So, for example, if you do move your bank account now, you can move all of your standing orders and direct debits through an automated process, semi-automated process. So it makes it much easier. You're not having to sort of start again and try and remember, who was your TV licensing, direct debit to, etc.
Yeah.
So it's all done for you. So it does make it much, much easier than it used to be.
Okay.
But generally speaking, people are still like, yeah, but I've got my bank account number and my, my bank cards, and I can't be bothered to change it.
I can remember the number off the top of my head.
Exactly,
before I let you go, we're almost out of time, but this VAT-free tourist tax.
Yes.
We know that a lot of businesses in the UK are really unhappy about that because shoppers are going to Milan or Paris instead. What would you say to the government?
I'm very sympathetic to that. Just down the road from my constituency is Bicester Shopping Village. It's a huge, incredible tourist attraction, does massive amount of business, and they've certainly lobbied me about this issue with VAT. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? You do want everybody who comes here to pay their fair taxes, but on the other hand, if we're losing out to other centres who are offering VAT-free shopping, then we're sort of scuppering ourselves. So I think it's a difficult decision, but I certainly think it's one the government should very carefully assess whether we're actually net losing out by scrapping the VAT refunds and whether we should actually perhaps reinstate them for the sake of attracting more tourist shoppers.
We're out of time, but the Chancellor should look at that again.
I think so, yeah.
OK, it's good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for
Come in
having
more
me.
often. It's
Will
nice
do.
to see you.